Hello, everyone, and welcome to this practice session of Pros on Demand. And I'm your host today, also going to be your presenter today for real estate strategies. We'll talk about some creative financing and really want to just focus on some basic concepts and ideas that will allow you, our members, to tap into an additional stream of income that could really make a difference for your bottom line. And so real estate is a way to do that. And outside of the typical ways that you would find to be able to do that through a real estate broker, a realtor, there's some additional ways that we can create some real estate strategies in the way of creative financing. So let's kind of dive into that today a little bit in this two-part series. I'm going to go through some basics here today. And then tomorrow we'll complete our series with our real estate coach, Marcy Dane, and she'll kind of bring all this into light and what we can do to really make a difference, not only in our own bottom line, but really helping people get to where that they need to be and help really solve a lot of different problems that they may be going through. These are difficult times that we're all going through for a lot of people. Real estate is going to be a great investment. Somebody told me the other day that gold, silver, and real estate are going to be great investments as we look into the future over the next few years anyway. Interest rates are projected to still be low and still remain low for a long time. So it's a great strategy and a way to tap into some of these opportunities. And we're all about here at One Team creating multiple streams of income. So let's kind of dive into this. And I'm going to mention a few of the investor strategies here at the top. And then we'll start kind of focusing in tomorrow in our second part of this series on one of these strategies in particular. When we talk about real estate and investor strategies, there's a lot of things that come to mind. There's owner financing, rent to own, subject to, assignments, wholesaling, fix and flips, raw land development, and note and deed buyers. So those are a lot of terms that you may hear over the course of the next day or two in our discussions. But those are typically a lot of different ways to do creative financing. Typically, an owner will find themselves in a few different situations. It may be that an owner's house has been listed with a realtor, but the listing is about to expire. Could be where an owner does not have enough equity in the house for the realtor to make any commission. So therefore, the realtor doesn't really know any other alternatives or what to do in the way of really helping that particular client. And so by not having enough equity in the house, the realtor can't make any commission. They're going to focus their attention elsewhere. Could be a situation where the owner will have to bring money to the closing to sell the house. They could be upside down on it, not enough equity, but they could actually be upside down on it. So sometimes they'll have to bring money to close on the house to actually get it sold. Could be an owner needs to sell quickly. Maybe they're relocating. They have a different job. They want to avoid double mortgage payments. So that's another scenario that an owner may find themselves into. Owner may try to avoid a short sale or a foreclosure. They've been served notice. Sheriff showed up on their doorstep, handed them this piece of paper and said, hey, your property's in foreclosure. So maybe they're trying to avoid that situation. And a lot of times they're trying to maybe preserve their credit. Along with that, once you lose good credit, it's hard to get it back and it takes a long time to do that. So trying to preserve your credit is always a big concern for a lot of homeowners. Or an owner wants to sell the house themselves and they just don't want to pay a realtor. They think that the market's good. They don't want to give up 6% going to a realtor themselves when they feel like that they can pretty much do that on their own. So typically there's three solutions out of all those things that an owner finds himself in, those situations. There's typically three solutions that an owner has. One is they list the home with an agent. They sign up for 6 months with a realtor and they have an opportunity to try to sell the house. Or they could rent their property out, hire a property manager, and move in a tenant, maybe that's unproven or unvetted, but it's somebody that is in the property. And again, you don't know how well that they are going to take care of the property or what that's going to be in the long run. Or the third solution may be a lease to own. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of dig into this. First, let's talk about really what the cost to sell a house is. We talk about listing that with a realtor and what really the cost of that actually is. And let's just use, for an example, a $200,000 house. So a commission that if they list that with a realtor is at 6%. Closing costs can be 2%. Sellers' concessions could actually average another 6%. And we got to fix the roof, we got to fix the heat and air system, we've got water leak or whatever it may be. Those are seller concessions that may have to be completed before they can actually sell the house. And holding costs can be, another 3% or so. So if we list it today, but we don't really sell it for another 6 or 7 months, what does it cost to be able to hang on to that property? What's that costing us out of our pocket? So when you add all these things together with those percentages on a $200,000 house, you could easily give up $35,000 of equity just to sell the house. So let's talk about the second option. We talked about the first one, listing it with the realtors. Let's talk about the second one, which is renting. So if you are a landlord, the cost and responsibility that you have for those rentals includes tenants, toilets, and trash. Every time you have a renter in there and the toilet doesn't work or the sink's clogged, you've got a hole in the wall after somebody left, you've got to go back and continually make those maintenance repairs, keep it nice, put on fresh paint, so you can get ready for the next renter to come in. That comes off the profits that you've reaped over the past several months that you've been able to rent the house. Plus, you've also got to include management fees. If it's property that you may own out of town or out of county or out of state. For instance, I know that we have a property that's 2.5 hours from where we live, and we have to pay somebody to continually monitor that, make sure the yard's mowed, make sure things are taken care of, it's well maintained for renters. So those are all management fees that go into the cost of being a landlord. Plus you have insurance and taxes that you're still responsible for. So when you take a look at it, the cost of rent. So let's just say on this $200,000 house, the market rents for $1,500 a month. Property management is typically, or can be 10% of that. That's $150 a month. Maintenance, $2,000 a year. So about 75, 80 bucks a month for that. And the landlord, being a landlord, is still responsible for the tenants, toilets, trash, all the repairs. And your rental income is taxable. So now let's talk about the opportunity to lease to own and the possible advantage to that, and why that this may be such a viable option for a lot of landlords out there today that may really say, hey, here's an opportunity that I really may need to consider. So when we talk about an opportunity to lease to own, the buyer pays the fees. The focus is to net the seller the most. So if we've got a house and they want to list it for $200,000, during this process with an opportunity to lease, buying on terms, we can come more closely to getting the seller the most and what they want out of that piece of property. The buyer that's interested in the property that will lease to own immediately has pride of ownership. They're not just a renter. They're looking at it to get them through a situation so that they can, in the near future, purchase this piece of property. The buyer's responsible for maintenance. The buyer pays PITI, which is the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The tenant pays a fee for the option to purchase. And the deal is structured to eliminate closing costs for the seller or for the owner. So our objective here with One Team is to really create, again, another stream of income, another stream of revenue that with you and your client, if you know somebody that is in some of these situations that we talked about, these owner situations, they're in distress, they need to relocate, they don't want to deal with a realtor. All these things that we discussed in the beginning of this, those are opportunities that we can utilize that typically kind of fall through the cracks and are overlooked a lot of times by a typical realtor or real estate broker. So these are opportunities that we can utilize in our own situation with our own clients if we listen and we learn and we have that relationship with our client and really understand what their needs are. So what we're proposing is with One Team Real Estate Coaches and Specialists is that we typically have the experience and the expertise to really structure the opportunity to solve the problem for the buyers and the sellers. You become the boots on the ground. You still have the relationship with your client. You know where the house is located. You know what the value of that property is and the need of what your client is really trying to solve, what the problem is that they're trying to solve. So that gives you a real opportunity to kind of be the eyes and the ears for information and the marketing arm and relationship managers with your clients. So how do we kind of qualify our clients? What do we need to ask? What do we need to be aware of in order to take advantage of the opportunities to be a service to your client? The questions that you might want to ask are, where do you want to live? If you're looking for a piece of property, where is it that you want to live? Do they have any challenges with their credit? Have they been through a bankruptcy or divorce, a foreclosure before? Are they trying to repair their credit? You kind of need to know what those challenges are. A lot of these folks have money, but they have credit score challenges. And so we need to understand what those are so that you can kind of convey that to us so we can structure that accordingly. Are they self-employed? A lot of times self-employed people have challenges. They can't get typical financing from a bank or from a mortgage company, a lending institution. So those are other challenges that a lot of buyers find themselves in order to make some kind of a purchase. How much cash do they have to put down? Always a big question to ask. What kind of money do they have to put down? And are they needing to liquidate? What's their pain point? How motivated are they? If we're talking about a seller, how motivated are they to sell their property? Is it something that, as an investor, that we can offer a cash price for? Or is it something that they're willing to kind of sit on it for a while? We can work out some terms and then convert that later on, depending on how we structure the deal. And for a buyer, how much can they pay each month? What's their budget look like? What is it that they can afford? What do they feel comfortable with? And what kind of a house are they basically looking for? The things that we're really looking for too, as far as the opportunities, are the houses that are typically at least $100,000 to $500,000. Those are nice properties. They're pretty homes. They're in nice neighborhoods. It's where people want to live. We're not really focused on the fix and flips, the distressed properties, those that really need to be fixed up. That's not what this particular opportunity is about, although there is opportunity with some of those particular situations and some of those properties. What we're really focused on here is for people that are having these challenges, having these situations, but are wanting to be in a nice neighborhood, close to a nice school, and a nice house that they can eventually call their own at some particular point. So these are all situations that we'll continue to talk about. We're going to kind of hone in on the rent to own potential, the lease to own potential, how that works, what that means to you as a member, and how we can structure these deals so that this makes an additional income stream for you and will certainly increase your bottom line. So we're going to talk about all those things in our next practice session, and we'll have Coach Marcy Dane with us, and we'll talk about what that means to you, and we certainly look forward to that. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today on this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next practice session of Pros on Demand.